Hey guys, hope you're doing well. I'm Vince, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to connect to an API to grab that data and then chart it with ChartJS. By the end of this video, probably 5 or 10 minutes long, we will have created this guy right here, which is going and displaying the past 30 days worth of pricing for Bitcoin in USD. We can hover over with a tooltip showing the price. If we want to only see certain lines, we can do that as well. So super easy to do, but I thought it'd be helpful for you guys to know how to grab data from an API and then chart it with ChartJS. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the code here and get going. So first thing we're going to do here is just put in our standard HTML doc type, and I've got a style sheet that's just going to give the canvas a little bit of a padding on the sides. So we're going to create a div with a class of container, and then a canvas with an ID of my chart. If you've watched my ChartJS crash course, you'll be familiar with a lot of this part. But so the next thing we need to do is go ahead and import Axios, the ChartJS CDN, and we're going to keep all of our JavaScript in its own app.js file. So if you're not familiar with Axios, it's just well, here, let me just pull up the site real quick. And it allows you to basically do a GET request to a URL. And then once we receive that response, handle the success. So right here is where we'll be creating our chart. We can also catch an error and then do a finally clause, which we're not going to be doing that. But let's go ahead and just copy this guy here. And like I said, we'll get rid of the finally, and we'll actually, let me see here. So we're just going to pass the URL as well as a config to handle the headers, which you'll see here in just a moment. It will be it's required for our API call. So do let URL equals, and then we'll do a config object, which is going to hold our headers. And inside of that, we're going to have the following key values: except equals application/JSON, and then the CoinAPI key along with our key. Of course, this is blurred out for the video. Now, if you guys are wondering where this header configuration is from, basically on the CoinAPI documentation, if we pull up the REST API, it shows that we actually have two different methods for the authorization. We can either pass it through an API key parameter in the URL, or we can do custom header authorization with the CoinAPI key value pair, which is what we're doing here. And then we are wanting to grab historical data of the exchange rate. So again, the docs are just great on the CoinAPI. So we'll go to exchange rates, and then we'll scroll down to, I believe it was, time series periods. And if we scroll down a bit more here, we'll get this example URL here. So the CoinAPI exchange rate of BTC, we're wanting it in USD, and we're saying the history period ID is 1 minute. We'll actually change that to 1 day with a time start and time end of the past 30 days, which in the end ends up looking a little bit something like this right here. So we've got history, the period ID of 1 day, time start of a month ago, and then time end of right now. And finally, let's just console log out this response. So we'll pass, again, we're passing that URL, we're passing the config headers, and then we'll console log the response. Make this guy a little bit bigger. We'll save and refresh. All right, perfect. And then so we can see right here, try to make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Our response object basically contains this data. And so for the past 30 days, or I guess 29 days, we've got for April 16, 17, all the way through, and each of those objects contains a rate close, rate high, rate low, rate open, time close, etc. So we'll just be using a few of these options right here, or I guess a few of these key values. So the next thing we want to do is work with that response object and build a datas object that's going to hold the basically the data in a format that ChartJS is going to expect. So basically for each of those lines, ChartJS is going to expect an array, as well as for the labels on the the x-axis there of the dates. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and access that response .data, and then we're going to use the JavaScript .map on that array, and we'll just be calling each of those items as we iterate through it day with an arrow function, and we'll return that day dot. I believe the first one was rate low. So let's go ahead and save that and refresh. Okay, perfect. Yep, so we're creating our data's object, and inside of that we have a key value of rate open. Rate open contains an array, and inside of that array we have the past 29, I guess 30 including the 0, days worth of the open rate for Bitcoin. And then we'll do the same thing for the rate close and the rate high, just mapping through that array and returning the rate close and rate high. Again, we'll save that, refresh, and then we've got rate close, rate high, rate open. And then things get a little bit more interesting for the dates. Let's go ahead and here, I'll just show you. So if we console.log the response again, we'll refresh. And we see that within the data, basically, we could use any of these. I think we'll probably use we'll use time period start. But you see here, it's the date time with all the time on there, the seconds and milliseconds, all the way down to all the zeros with the Z, and we want to clean that up. So we will end up, let's just map through here. So we'll create our dates, again, mapping through and iterating through each day. But we're going to now define a date by accessing that day and then time period dot start. So again, we're just on this part right here for now. And then we're going to split it at the t. So these are strings, and we're saying that we want to just split it at the t, which is what starts the time, the date time. And then we're going to access the first part, so everything before the t, so just the date. And then we'll return that date. So let's just go ahead and save, and we will refresh just to make sure we're getting everything properly. And you can see here that now we get a dates array of just the dates, not with the time on there. So nice and clean, as well as we're getting the rate closed, rate high, and rate open. So now we've prepped our, what are you doing over here? Now we've prepped our datas, which means that the next item that we need to do is create a function to create our chart. So to do that, we'll go ahead and create a buildChart function that accepts data as a parameter. And then we'll create our context, which will include document.getElement by ID of my chart. Essentially, and if you've watched my ChartJS crash course, you already know all this part. But that getElement by ID needs to match whatever it was that we called our canvas ID. And then we'll create a new chart object passing that context, and then a config object that's empty. We'll go ahead and set the chart type to line, and then create a datas object. And in that datas object, we'll go ahead and set the labels to datas.dates. Again, where we're getting this, we're passing the datas object, which we created up here, and then we're accessing that dates key, so datas.dates for the labels. And then we're going to do something very similar here for the data set. So for each data set, we'll have, so data sets is an array of objects. And so we'll have the rate open. I've just got a border color of an RGBA here. And then again, we're passing the datas, and then we're accessing the rate open like that. And then we'll do the same thing for the rate close and the rate high. And then finally, all we have to do now that we have our function is call it. So we'll call buildChart, and we'll pass that datas. Let me save this and refresh, and boom, yeah, there we go. So we've got a line chart created with ChartJS, pulling data from the CoinAPI and displaying that over the past 30 days. And we can see that prices are going down. So there you have it. I hope you guys found that video helpful. If it did, please be sure to like the video, comment down below if there's anything else you would like to see here on the channel. And until next time, hope you guys have a great day.